So after work and out in the shed again, decided it's time to stop procrastinating on the body. So I made myself a paper template. I decided to work on the first half first because that's the biggest piece. And if I screwed up cutting the aluminium, I can always make a smaller piece out of a bigger piece. I made a proper paper template this time and just left an inch of material all the way around and then cut out my 2 blanks. And after about 45 minutes of wheeling, I'm starting to get close already, which is good. So this is just lightly clamped on there. If you sort of press the panel up, you can see where it needs more shape. Basically needs a lot more shape in the middle there to get the ends to sit down. So it really does curve out in the middle and down through here. So that's it's getting there. It's going to fall off. I'm still a little bit rough and leaving some marking in the panel. I think a lot of that does come down to my wheeling machine. What I've discovered is this brace in the middle really makes a massive difference. It's gonna go. There we go. What was I saying? Oh yes, this brace. What I've found is without that, I end up having to crank the pressure up so much on this to get anything to happen. I leave tracking marks. And what I believe is happening there is the pressure gets higher. This is flexible. Even though this is, what, 4 or 5 inch square steel tube box, it's going to flex at the weakest point, which is going to be here. And so what happens is this whole arm flexes up, and it makes the wheel and the anvil go out of parallel. So you end up with this on a slight angle, and that's why I end up with really bad tracking marks, because it's digging in more on one side than the other. Choking it up like this really helps with that. It stops it opening up as much, and I need like way less pressure on the wheel here to get the same effect. I think the way to fix that would be do what you see a lot of people doing with their English wheels or the wheeling machines, is get some square section tubing and reinforce this to make this more rigid. I think you would do a triangular piece up here somewhere and back down to this, and then triangulated back down. It would be an interesting thing to try in Fusion 360, because I believe you can do stress analysis and stuff like that in there. So maybe I could figure out the best way to do that, or I'll probably just look online and see what other people have done and copy them. And I think that'll actually make a big difference to how well this wheeling machine works. But, yeah, you can see it's getting there. And this is now where I usually start going wrong, because getting an even shape across the whole panel isn't too hard, but when you start needing to raise other bits, this is where I find I start getting things lumpy, because I'm not even enough in where I'm wheeling. So I need to sort of keep going over the whole thing gently, but try and bring up more of the middle. But, that's good. I can clamp this. I need more clamps. I mean, that's clamped down. You can see, because it's not sitting up in the middle, this end will pull up, which is what's showing me I need more curve in there. But that's enough to start really giving an idea of what this body's going to look like. And it really is barrel shaped. There's a lot of curve in it. So I'm pleased with that. That wasn't too much work tonight, and we've got quite a long way already. The problem is now getting it to that 80–90% isn't too bad. It's getting it exactly right that seems to take me forever. We have the same saying in software that you know, the last 10% takes 90% of the time, something like that. Can't remember what it is. tonight I've been doing more shaping on this side panel, and I think it's pretty much there now. I do have a bit of a strange thing going on down the bottom here, where if you pull this in, it doesn't quite go to where it needs to be. And then I remembered why I've got that strange thing, and the reason is because when I made the frame I had to tweak it, and I can't do it because there's a clamp in the way. But if you take a line along the bottom of the car there, it's not a fair curve. I had to sand this in more because I needed clearance around something. I can't even remember what I was trying to clear. But that's why that's not a straight line, which means there's no way I can get a nice curved line to sit flat across there. But it doesn't matter because all of this gets cut away, and you can see the way it's sitting at the moment. It is touching all the way around. When you pull this in, it's making this pop out, but this won't be there. So I'm pretty sure when this is trimmed and hammered around, it'll all pull into the right shape. That's my thinking anyway. So this is quite nice. And the other thing I've realized is I don't have the skill level to make a perfectly mirror smooth surface. So I'm not going to try. I'm going to get it as good as I can. It'll be hammer and dollied and filed and all that kind of thing. I don't know if you can see the reflection in there. But there's ripples in it. I think it always looks better on camera than it does in real life. But that's come on quite well. So I think you can see here how it kind of does a strange thing in there as well. But it's close enough. Good enough, I think, for a 1930s race car. I'll probably do a little bit more smoothing out of that. So I am getting a much better feel for how much pressure I need to actually put shape in, how much pressure I need to sort of smooth things out. Still not great at it. There's little track marks in there you can sort of see, but you can't really feel. So I think those will file out okay. And I was thinking I might need to order more aluminium, but if I don't mess up, I should have enough, I think. I may get in touch with Regan, who we bought the house from, who owns an engineering firm, and he's who I got it through last time. So I might sort of say to him I need a couple more sheets. One reason I need a couple more sheets, or at least one more sheet, is my bus blind that has been wrapped up like that for as long as we've been here now. Obviously that was from when we moved, and that's my sort of bus sign thing, where I've got a blind from a London bus, and I made a mechanism that lets you motorize it. And the plan was to always make an aluminium cover for it with the rounded corners, a bit like a Routemaster bus, and then paint it that red color. So after I've done all this metal work, I should be able to do that fairly easily. The other thing is I got confirmation that both my orders, the nuts and bolts and the wiring, is on the way, which is good. It's been sent DHL, so it should be here pretty quickly. And I updated my giant spreadsheet of things I've bought for the car. That was purchase number 100, and I'm just under 60,000 New Zealand dollars spent on this so far. So that spreadsheet has got all sorts of things, all the little bits and pieces. And I might do a little bit of meccanoing tonight. I did go and get the new tyres and rims for the Fiesta, and on the way home I picked up some brass fittings, And it's obviously been a while since I bought any of these things, because the last time I bought some of these, so I bought what, 1, 2, let's turn the light on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 things. Well, I expected them to be a few dollars each. Those 8 things came to $70. I was quite shocked, and it's one of those trade places, so nothing's got prices marked, so you don't actually know until you go up to the counter. But I mentioned it to the guy, and he said, yeah, this stuff, people aren't using it anymore. There's a different sort of copper pipe that they use now with built-in O-rings or something. So this stuff is going out of fashion, I guess, which explains why I can't find it in the normal hardware shops anymore. I had to go to a specialty plumbing shop. So it's not been a good week for spending money. And the plan will be, I'll use this to hook onto the little tone arm. I'll do something in there to be able to pivot that. That needs to be on a little pivot. So that'll be the next thing. Yeah, prices of things is just mental. So I think that side's good enough, and maybe what I'll do is, I need more clamps, but I could drill holes through the aluminium and Cleco things overlapping like this and make the rest of the panels, or I'm not sure if I should treat this as one, weld this, and then make the rest. It's going to get hard to be clamping, what, it's like 7, 8 pieces together, but I'm not sure exactly how I'll do that yet. But now that that side's done, I'll go on to the other side after doing a little bit more smoothing on this, and hopefully that won't take too long. I remembered what it is that makes that line across the bottom not 100% correct. It's this bit I had to take in, and that was to provide clearance around the shock absorber nuts. That's in here, because if you imagine the body comes around like this, so I had a clearance problem somewhere. I'd have to put the body back on to see exactly where, but I remember now that's what I ended up having to do, just to make sure that things actually cleared. So as I say, I think once that piece in the middle is cut out, that panel will relax, be able to bend to where it needs to go. After work, back in the shed as usual. Nice sunny day today. I think it's meant to be really bad tomorrow, but I started on and have almost finished the second side. I have no idea why this one was so much easier. Maybe I'm getting better. Maybe the shape is a little bit different. I don't really know, but I've been working on this one for about an hour and it fits pretty well already. Surface finish is poor, but that's what I find I have to do to get shape in it. So now what I'll do is I'll try and blend all of this out a little bit. It sort of does look a little bit like a Graf Zeppelin or something with the little lines in the side, but they look worse than they feel. So that's actually come out really nice along here. This is sitting up a little bit. The other thing to remember is it doesn't have to touch the frame everywhere. So if it's not touching that middle wooden timber piece, that doesn't matter. It's as long as the outer shape is fine and where it wraps around works. So just here, I just need to pull that in a little bit. These all need trimming, of course. Again, on this one, the finish isn't great. Oh, there's a dent there. But I'm pleased with how it's going along at the moment. The other thing to mention is somebody very kindly sent me some pictures of a Brooklands that was competing over in the UK. Thank you very much for that. Very useful. I've got a big library of pictures of real Brooklands and period pictures and replicas and all sorts of different things. And I keep them all in a big private library. A lot of pictures of auction sites or other websites. Sometimes they do protect them, but if you can see it, there's always a way you can get it if you're good with code. So I have that in a just big private collection, and I use that for reference material. So I think what I need to do is a lot more blending in on these and smoothing out, and then on to probably, I guess, the back pieces first, or should I do this piece next? I'm thinking the better way to go is weld these three together so it's one piece at the front, make the two bottom halves here, weld those together so it's one piece at the back, and then make this piece that goes in here. I think that would be the most sensible way, because if I'm trying to clamp all these things together, it's going to be too difficult. A little bit more smoothing and shaping and fettling, and that's looking pretty good now. Same on this side, that's pretty good. Done a few smoothing passes to get some of the ripples out, and it's not too bad now. It's getting down to file territory. The interesting thing is the closer you get the shape, the less clamps you need. So what I'm finding tricky is knowing how close is close enough. Obviously, as close as you can get it is perfect, but there is flex in the metal, so you can get to a point where you know you're going to be pulling it around and it's going to pull into the shape. So that's what the clamps are helping show, that, you know, once these edges are clamped, it's going to be the right shape in the middle here. Still a low spot there. I mentioned the other day idiots on motorbikes. I'm always waiting for the crash when you hear someone going past like that really fast. But I mentioned the other day about the spreadsheet. I've got basically all the purchases I've made on the Riley, and the wiring was purchase number 100. So this goes back to November 2019. That's when I really started on this car. So nearly 5 years. And these are all the purchases of all the little bits and pieces. So I had most of the stuff here, but it's things like getting the wheels rebuilt, getting the tires, torque tube modifications, aluminium, timber, SU carb rebuild kits, all of the bits for the engine, bits for the diff, brake bits, all those sort of things, getting the radiator shell made, and that's all documented in here. So yeah, kind of shows what goes into one of these projects. It's the weekend now and a nice day. That's good. Last night I made this rear side panel, and this morning I did this one. There's not a lot of shape in these, so these are pretty easy. And I'm getting close to the point where I need to start thinking about trimming some of these down so I can weld them together. Kind of make all of this one piece, and make all of this one piece, and then make the little bit that goes in the middle here to join them. I'm just trying to get the shape as close as possible. This is overhanging by quite a lot, so this all needs trimming down, but I'll do that after I weld it, so if I blow out the edges here it won't matter because that'll get trimmed. It's pretty close at the back. I need to trim these and join these up, and then of course I mentioned the tail. There's a little piece that goes in the tail at the end. This is a little off center. Well, my welders didn't end up being right down the center. It's just how the panels ended up. And I'll need to do some shrinking, I think, just around these edges, just with the hammer and dolly. This will be cut as well, of course. So I think maybe the first thing to do will be join these two together. And I can push those on, pull them hard, and then do the top. And that's probably the best way. Just welded the two end pieces together, tail pieces. You can hear it cooling down. I've just done the pass from the outside. I will flip it over and do from the inside because I always have trouble trying to get full penetration of the welds, but my welding's definitely getting better. Didn't blow any holes, didn't blow the ends out. And I'm wondering if it's because I had to weld this panel in this direction, so I had to hold the torch like that and weld towards me, which I found made it much easier to keep this at the right angle and just move along. Maybe that's what the trick is, I'm not sure, but I don't know what the penetration on this looks like. That's getting better too, but I think what happens is in places like this, I don't think we can even see it on the camera, even though the welds come through, it hasn't penetrated all the way through the aluminium, so it hasn't fully fused it, and this is why I'm going to weld from the inside as well. But yeah, awkward panel to weld. It's just an awkward shape. I think for the next weld I can put it up on the bench here. That's the inside done. Got a bit blobby on me in places, but it's really awkward to weld this because you have to weld inside this V shape. So now what I'll do is basically take this outside and pour boiling water all over it to get rid of all the flux. The two sides are welded together, not fully finished yet, but ground down reasonably smooth. And I'm just about ready to trim the top. So I've spent ages trying to get this in the right position, and I've marked it on the inside, because once I cut this, if I get that wrong, I'll end up having to remake this top piece. So that'll be the next job. Take this off, trim it, weld it together. I'll probably tack it together first and make sure it's right. Been working all afternoon on the tail. Bit puffed, bit knackered now. I did the weld on one side and I made a bit of a mistake. I thought I'd try welding the inside first, but that made the outside much messier and harder to clean off. This side's just tacked at the moment. The edge is overlapping, but when I go to weld it, you just hammer those apart. It was really hard doing these welds. It's just really awkward to do, really awkward to get into. I ended up having to use my really long clamps. Whoops. And with those, I was able to clamp it close to the middle to keep the edges together when I was welding. I did manage to blow a few holes, but I welded those up, and I've started filing. You can see the file marks. Filing and hammer and dollying this. It's just taken me ages, because to hammer and dolly it, I have to take it off the frame, because I can't easily get behind it. I can actually get behind there, but it's just awkward. I can't hammer it. The bigger the pieces get, the harder it's going to be to get to them to hammer and dolly. By the time I get to the end, it'll be very difficult to reach everything, I think. And I did blow a big hole in the end, but this is going to get trimmed off somewhere back here. This is still way over long. The edge of it only needs to be about here, so that'll be trimmed, which is good, because this is where the guard stay is here. If I didn't trim this, that hole would have to be right in the middle of the weld, which would probably give me a stress point. My shape isn't 100%, it's not touching the wood all the way around, but it's pretty close. So I think that'll be good. And now I've got the skin on it, I can actually see that I think my tail is a little bit asymmetrical. This side is a little bit more shape just in there than down here, and that's on the timber. So unless I change the timber now, I can't fix that. But that's okay. Hand-built car, they weren't perfect. But yeah, that just doing this weld took a few hours, I think, to actually do it and then start smoothing it off. A few little dings. I find these the hardest to get out. These little, where you get a little low spot next to the weld. I didn't grind the back of this completely flat. I want to leave a little bit of strength there, just in case I go too deep on the front. So it makes it hard to push up those little tiny bits. But it's not too bad. And you can see I trimmed the panel to get the best fit. This is my line, my join line, so that's gone kind of off center, but that's where it needs to be for it to work. So I'm not sure exactly what happened there. My shaping isn't perfect, and I think I've lost a little bit of this roll is bent. That's not very good. Remembering that this wraps around, so it actually comes to here. That's not too bad. It's pretty close. Mess everywhere. There's flux everywhere. I'm going to leave this today because I'll be doing more tomorrow, but tomorrow evening I'm going to have to really clean everything because this flux is really acidic and it makes everything rust. That's why you can see here, this is already rusting. And that's from that flux. So tomorrow I'll give everything a really good wipe down, and probably a wipe down with WD-40 or oil or something. And I managed to burn my bench by the looks of it. I need to shift that plate over. But it's starting to look like a car. Of course there's a little bit of kind of goes, it's almost flat at the tail and then gets more barrel shaped as it goes forward. I think the camera is distorting it a bit as well, but I'm pleased with that. I think I'm going to go and take a break. Sunday, been doing more welding. There's the tail cone there. I need to grind that down and start hammering it smooth, but I know I said this wouldn't be a project, but I ended up getting new wheels and tyres for this car. The old wheels were all curbed. I don't know how you managed to curb every single wheel, but they had. So I got new wheels for it. I've actually got lowering springs for it on the way. So the rear ones are pretty easy apparently. You just undo this shock bolt and the axle drops down, you can get the springs out. But because I got the new wheels, you can see the brake drums through them, and I just don't like that the brake drums are all rusty, so I've pulled them off, cleaned it up, given it a coat of black paint. I just need to do the other side now, but they're in good condition. The brakes are all in good condition, nothing to worry about there. One problem is I've lost my adapter to go on my torque wrench, so I can't torque these up because I can't fit the special socket it comes with. I think it's called a spline socket. I can't fit my torque wrench onto that, so they're just going to have to be done up kind of bloody tight, I guess, until I can get another adapter. Finished the second weld. Still needs some cleaning up, but it's pretty good now. I think I've got a couple of cracks in the top of the tail still. I think they were there before. I was going to weld them up, I never did. I also started smoothing out this piece off the front. I've re-welded that. Again, that needs more finishing. These little tiny sort of divoty things, I think they can be taken care of with a little bit of spray putty filler. At the start of the weekend I thought, oh, I'll get those welded and I'll get these sides all welded up, but it's 3 o'clock now and I've only just finished doing this, so it takes a lot longer than you think. But the shape's gone a bit funny there. I think I just need to, this has gone in a bit, that just needs to be popped out, but that's looking pretty good. I ended up cutting out the tail to get a hole big enough to put my hand and a dolly through, because then I can work the side here from this end, because this is just getting a little bit too long to be able to reach your arm easily in and do the hammer and dolly work. And the little Fiesta, I think, looks much better with the drums painted because you can see them through the spokes. So might take that for a quick test drive, maybe get some beer. I think I've deserved it, earned it this weekend.